was 4 years old, I had my first Godzilla experience. But it wasn't with any of the movies, oh no. It was with the Hanna-Barbera cartoon from the 1970s. And I fucking loved that show. I had the toy Godzilla with the wheels on his feet and the retractable flame tongue. I had Godzilla t-shirts, books, and all without yet having seen any of the movies that this show was based on. That didn't come until later when TBS seemed to show a different Godzilla movie every Saturday afternoon, and from that point on, I've been a die-hard Godzilla fan.
Godzilla and gaming's gone hand in hand for a long time now. From NES to SNES to Game Boy to GameCube, PS2 and Xbox to Wii. And while none of them have been what I'd call gaming classics, there's been good games and there's been bad. But regardless of how ass-clenchingly awful some of these titles have been, I still end up buying every single one that I can get my hands on. Why? Because I fucking love Godzilla, that's why. What kind of question is that? So imagine my elation last year when I first saw a trailer for what was then being promoted as a new PS3 game to celebrate 60 years of Godzilla. Well, I for one just couldn't wait, but then, a few months back, it was announced that it was coming to the PS4. Oh, fuck me, even better. So it's finally here, and is it the great game that I was hoping for? Fuck no, it's goddamn terrible. Is it the worst Godzilla game ever made? Absolutely not. The games on NES and SNES are way worse. Do I love it anyway? Hell fucking yes I do.
The last several Godzilla games to hit US shores have mostly been arena-style fighting games, but this title could best be described as a Godzilla simulator. It follows along the general Godzilla film storyline. Japan was attacked by Godzilla in the 1950s, and they thought that they had destroyed him. During his absence, they harnessed the secrets of his power source, called G-Energy, and now almost all of Japan's power is derived from it, using massive generators all over Japan. Well, of course, Godzilla isn't going to let Japan get away with stealing his mojo, so now he's back on a quest to destroy all the generators. Yeah, that's right. As far as the three main modes of this game are concerned, the primary goal of each level is to destroy all the generators and kill any other kaiju who happen to show up. You've got 5 main play modes. God of Destruction, which is the main story mode. A kaiju attack mode, which is essentially God of Destruction, but you play as other monsters instead of Godzilla. A defense mode, where you play as a kaiju defending Japan's generators for some damn fool reason. A kaiju boss mode, where you fight 6 back-to-back kaiju fights as fast as you can. Gotta beat each in under a minute to get that best trophy, I might add. And online versus mode. There's also evolution mode, but it's really just your level up screen that's been labeled as a mode to make the game appear to be bigger than it actually is. Then there's an encyclopedia of kaiju that gives you a picture and backstory for all the monsters from every Godzilla film, including a couple that aren't even in the game, and a diorama mode. Yeah, a diorama mode. Do any of you who grew up in the 80s remember those book report projects where you had to take a shoebox and make it into a scene from the book? Well, that's basically what this is, only you're using essentially digital action figures and backgrounds you've unlocked during the game to make various scenes that you can then send to your friends via the trusty DualShock 4 share button. Yeah, it's just as worthless as it sounds. But back to the meat and potatoes of this game, the God of Destruction mode. When you start out, you're presented with a map of all the different levels available. Sometimes you get to choose which level you go to next, sometimes you don't. Because of this, it's impossible to play every mission during one playthrough, and a few of the last levels are locked until you've met various goals. In short, it will take you numerous playthroughs of this mode and its 2 sub-modes to see everything there is in the game. We're talking dozens of hours to unlock it all, and considering how the game actually plays, I'd say this is a game that few gamers will earn the Platinum Trophy on. Unlike most recent Godzilla games, that had comparatively fast gameplay mechanics, Godzilla for the PS4 attempts to accurately recreate how Godzilla and the other kaiju move in the movies. Because of this, the game is very, very, very slow. Godzilla and his buddies, even the flying kaiju, lumber around like they don't have a fucking care in the world. No shit. They walk like middle-aged fathers going to check the mailbox. The controls themselves are similar to driving a tank. You push the left stick to go forward, backward, and strafe left or right. You use the L1 and R1 buttons to change direction, and all of the kaiju turn slower than Claire Redfield pre-Resident Evil 4. It is, to say the least, tedious as hell. You have a small handful of attacks and combos to start out, with more powerful attacks that can be unlocked. At first you have a punch attack, a strong sweep attack, a special attack, and a roar that, depending on when you use it, can cause enemy kaiju to hesitate or give your special attacks a boost in effectiveness. No, there is no block button. You do eventually earn a secondary roar that can knock your enemies back a bit, but it lowers your special move power bar to use it and does little in the way of actual damage. Each level, at first glance, looks like a massive expanse of terrain, but it's really not. There's a red and orange glowing stripe running around the perimeter of each level that represents how far you can actually go. Maybe that was okay for the PS2 generation, but now, in the era of games like Grand Theft Auto 5 and Infamous Second Son, with graphics that look as good as those games do, it's downright reprehensible and, dare I say it, half-assed. As you enter each level, you have narration from government officials giving a sort of play-by-play of what Godzilla is doing. Again, the goal is to destroy the generators. Unlike the enemy kaiju you face, your monster has no life bar, at least not in this mode. As you take damage, the corners of the screen start to turn orange. That's the only indicator of how you're doing. If it starts to get too orange, you can run away and your health regenerates to some extent, at least in God of Destruction mode. In Versus mode, you have an actual life bar. Why not in both modes? That makes no fucking sense. Now you also have 3 meters at the bottom of the screen, along with a radar screen in the corner. These 3 gauges represent your growth, the overall destruction level, that increases from level to level, and the current level's damage percentage. Getting a level to 100% destroyed unlocks it in the diorama mode. You have to get all levels to 100% damage to snag that trophy, but once you've done it once, you don't have to do it again, technically speaking. However, your growth rate can be a determining factor in how well you do against any kaiju you run up against, so no matter how many times you've played through this mode, you will want to destroy everything you see, and as fast as you can, as the faster you destroy buildings, the higher your fury multiplier goes up, and thus the faster you grow. Meanwhile, each level has 4 data collection spots that are collected on your radar as glowing red dots. When you reach these, you press R3 and the camera switches to the viewpoint of a government official filming Godzilla. Once you get all 4 in the level, you never have to go get them again during subsequent playthroughs, but you'll need to find all 4 on every level to unlock everything and get that platinum trophy, so try to keep that in mind while playing. Now about that destruction meter, every time you fill it up, the destruction level goes up by 1 point. When this happens, the Japanese government releases more powerful enemies to come after you, so instead of helicopters and tanks, you'll suddenly be getting hit by jet fighters and missile turrets. None of them really do much damage no matter how high you get the meter, but it does offer a little change of pace on the challenge level. The jet fighters are a hell of a lot harder to hit than the helicopter. The kaiju you fight, as best as I can tell, is totally at random. Sometimes no kaiju show up at all, sometimes you get a weak tiny kaiju that's a pushover, and sometimes when your size is still not even to 70 meters, you get a 100-meter kaiju that appears and kicks your ass, regardless of whether the level is rated hard or not. This can cause some pretty unfair moments, especially if you haven't managed to unlock your kaiju's more powerful abilities. You see, whereas the powers you unlock carry over from session to session, Your growth doesn't. Every time you start a new session of God of Destruction or its two sub-modes, you're knocked right back to 50 meters and have to start all over. So if you happen across one of those 100-meter behemoths, and you haven't earned multiple special attack bars and more powerful attacks, you might as well quit out and count your losses. And about unlocking those new moves and larger energy bars. Each unlockable is purchased using a combination of accumulated G energy and various DNA samples from the kaiju you face. But again, which kaiju you face is completely random. So let's say the next upgrade you need requires 300 G energy, 2 Mecha Godzilla DNA, and 1 Mothra larva DNA. It doesn't sound like a lot, but you can actually play through God of Destruction several times before you end up facing Mothra larva or Mecha Godzilla, and even if both appear in the same playthrough, the rewards you get for defeating them are random too. You might defeat Mecha Godzilla only to get rewarded with Space Godzilla DNA. It's fucking asinine.
Can you imagine if sperm banks worked this way? A family with a sterile father goes and picks out a sperm from a black PhD in astrophysics, and 9 months later, out pops the product of your wife and a giant ginger sprout farmer? What the fuck?
And what's even better, friends and neighbors, is to get that coveted platinum trophy, you have to unlock all the unlockables, including all the figures for the fuck-ass diorama mode that you'll never use, and you have to do even more farming for G energy to buy those, which of course means planning your path through all the buildings in each level to make sure there's as few gaps in action as possible to keep that fucking fury multiplier as high as you can for as long as you can. Otherwise, the number of times you're going to have to suffer through this shit to unlock everything boggles the goddamn mind. And then there's the versus mode. Oh god, the fucking versus mode. Right off the bat, you'll notice there's no option for local split screen. None. Zip. Zilch. Nada. It's all online only. What the fuck is that shit? What does the damn game industry have against local multiplayer these days?
So let me get this straight. For me to be able to fight against 8th or any of my friends that come over, I gotta buy another copy of this game and send them upstairs to get online with 8's PS4 just to have a decent bout of one-on-one with a game that already sucks more ass than a suction hose in a proctologist's operating room? Were the developers on crack?
And do you want to know what's even better? Do you want to know? There's no matchmaking. None. You could be a level 15 and be matched up with a level 150 player. The game is already, as new as it is, flooded with players who have maxed out their favorite kaiju, who will happily waltz over and stomp a fucking sinkhole in your ass and walk it dry. And then there's the option to play against 2 opponents, where you'll see the weakest opponent do their best to hide from the other 2 until they've damn near killed each other before sweeping in and 1-2 hit killing the survivor. Oh, what a skillful tactician you are, kind sir. I've seen a lot of people complaining about the graphics, and yeah, they look cheap and year 1 PS3 quality, but again, this started out as a PS3 game. Were it not for the fact that this launched alongside the PS3 version, it could technically be considered a fucking remaster. Plus, have you actually seen a Godzilla movie? It's guys in rubber suits with visible zippers and eye flaps knocking down papier-mâché buildings, for fuck's sake. How good did you expect it to look? If you ask me, the graphics are one of its few shining features, as it accurately depicts the look of the delightfully cheesy effects of the original films, right down to the blue-white flashes in the windows just before a building explodes. Both the sound effects and the music are taken straight from the film, so again, no major complaints there, though considering how many Godzilla movies have been made, you'd think they would have added more musical tracks. As good as they are, the few on hand here tend to get a bit old after the 156th playthrough. Oh, and I have to mention this one unintentionally funny sound glitch. Oftentimes you'll smash a helicopter or step on a tank right when the soldier driving said vehicle is talking about how badly he wants to kick Godzilla's ass. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes, there'll be a 2-second or so delay, and then you'll hear the soldier scream in terror and agony. That's right, Sometimes the soldiers will scream 2 seconds after you've stomped them flat or blown them to smithereens. It's fucking hilarious.
So I guess that begs the question, if the game is such a festering pile of raw sewage, which it certainly is, how the hell could I stand here with a straight fucking face and still say that I love the goddamn game? Because it's fucking Godzilla, that's why. It doesn't have all the kaiju, but it certainly has all the best ones, and you get to blow shit up, including Tokyo fucking Tower. It's cathartic as hell. Every time I sweep Godzilla's tail and smash the rat fuck out of a cluster of buildings, the withered ghost of my childhood screams, "Oh, holy shit, yeah!" It's a fantastic stress reliever. Hell, I wish I could do this in real life. What the fuck do you want? I'm making a video.
2 weeks, 20 papers, that's $2 plus tip.
Oh shit, kid. Sorry. I never have anything but my debit card on me. I don't have a dime on me. Is it alright if I charge it online?
Didn't ask for a dime, old man. $2. Cash.
Or hey, better yet.
Hey, babe. How about you and I go upstairs so I can beat your high score? Oh my!
Godzilla is not, by the standard definition, a good game. In almost every respect, it fails to live up to what the modern gamer expects from an action title, and due to its construction, forces you to suffer through its horribleness repeatedly to get the most for your money. For anyone who isn't a die-hard Godzilla fan such as myself, it definitely gets no higher than a 1 out of 7.
And yet for those who grew up with Godzilla, who love the movies, who still feel a little chill every time he lets loose with that epic roar, there's a lot to offer in this game. But even then, is it worth $60? Sadly, no, it's not. Wait until it drops to no higher than $24.95, you die-hard Godzilla fans, and then buy it. And with that said, hey, sweet cheeks! Ain't spending the night at a friend's, we got the whole house to ourselves this weekend. How about I lay some of that God of Destruction action on that ass? Eh? Eh?
Not tonight. I'm on my period.
Oh. Oh well. Well, Buster, I guess it's just you and me tonight. But you're catching.